Thank you, Tana. Good morning, all. I just want to say again, thank you to Tana and Kristen as well, and Webner for inviting me. Key terms that were mentioned earlier by Kristen and by Tana both were community and partnerships, and that's what I'll talk about quite a bit today, and I think we obviously will today. That's sort of the theme. It's so important for everyone involved in this room. Obviously, I think everyone knows that, but you know, when you're going after funding or looking to start a project and applying for funding and grants, we all know that a partnership makes that application so much stronger. They want to see different organizations, they want to see the tribes, they want to see communities, they want to see conservation groups written into that grant. They like to see that. For the tribe, it's very important to us because we lack capacity. It's very difficult for us. I don't know if my associate's here, Dale Oakley. My department is really a two-person department right now. It's myself and Dale. We were lucky enough to hire a field tech, Sydney. I don't know if she's here as well. Her first day was literally yesterday, so she's got a lot to learn, and we're going to throw her to the wolves, basically. But it is nice to have that assistance. But for us to have these partnerships, not only are we learning, we're not scientifically trained, most of us. We do bring a traditional ecological knowledge, and that is important as well, and I'll touch on that. But you know, most of us are not scientifically trained, so to partner that TEK with Western science and to have that assistance in that capacity and that technical assistance for the tribe is huge. So again, that's going to be, I think, a theme today and why it's so important. So water is life, and that's an obvious statement. I mean, it goes without saying, right? I mean, you wake up every day, you turn on your faucet, and you just take for granted that you're going to get clean water coming out of there, right? To drink or to wash or to brush your teeth, and it's so vital. In indigenous communities, water is life. This phrase captures not only the sacred essentiality of water, but that water itself is a living relation, our connection to the lands we call home, our first medicine, and our connection to all living beings. It's our connection to our connections to waterscapes are specific and localized and have evolved over millennia of intimate stewardship, responsibilities, relationality, respect, reverence, and reciprocity. For tribal communities and for everyone, it's life. I like to just show a quick map usually of our historical territory, just to give you an idea of what our ancestral lands look like. This map isn't quite accurate. It does go a little bit further north towards Boston, but you get the point. It's the South Shore through South Coast, Cape and Islands, and Eastern Rhode Island. It's a vast territory. Obviously, still very, very important to us culturally. When it comes to the work that we do every day, it is difficult, unfortunately, to focus on such a large area. We really do have to scale our scope down a little bit. And so most of the work that we do nowadays does really center around Cape Cod and specifically Mashpee. It's, again, we just don't have the capacity to focus on some of these other areas. We do have projects going on, but that's where our main focus is. In Mashpee, we've got a lot of valuable waterways from vernal pools, lakes, rivers, and ponds to some of our, wetlands and marshes and two pretty predominant bays, Papanesset and Wacoit Bay, which are obviously culturally significant and have been for us for years. So I just want to touch on some of these locations really quickly. This is an image of Wacoit Bay, where you folks are located. Again, a culturally significant location to us. We've been using it since millennia for fishing. It's a migratory bay that has a main river that runs through it, which is the Quashnet, which you see pictured below. So if you're not familiar with the area, that's the opening to Wacoit Bay. Those are a couple of images of the Quashnet River, which runs into Johns Pond. And you can see the different biodiversity of this river. There's a woodland and it cuts through some bogs. Very, very significant location to the tribe. That is a wonderful herring run, and I think most folks understand the importance of the herring to the tribe. So this is a very, very sacred and culturally significant waterway. It is in trouble, which I'll get into a little bit. It does have its issues. And another major bay here is Papaneset Bay. So that's the entrance, Papaneset Spit, most folks will know. On the top right corner, if you see that kind of like clear area, if you will, that's sort of in the location of where we have an aquaculture grant. And then further up on the left-hand image, you can see a location called Gooseberry Island. So the tribe's got an aquaculture site in there, 12 acres. So obviously that is extremely important to us that this bay is taken care of and is healthy. And Papaneset Bay actually has two major river systems in it. It leads to Santuit River on the left, Mashpee River on the right. Again, extremely culturally significant waterways have been for thousands and thousands of years. The Mashpee River, in fact, was once a world-renowned trout river. There was a hotel in Mashpee owned by a Mashpee Wampanoag, and he had a trout guiding service. People would come from far and wide to fish that river, and President Cleveland was actually one of his clientele as well. So there are so many significant waterways in this area, and specifically in Mashpee, and these are some of the ones that I'll probably be highlighting most today because they are right in our backyard. And this is just a quick snapshot of our aquaculture site. This is the location that's right around Gooseberry Island. That section is 4 acres, and then we've got the 8 acres which are farther out. So again, these locations that I highlighted, Papaneset Bay, Wacoit Bay, traditionally we would have lived on these shores right around this time of year because they would have been so bountiful to us. The herring would have been running. We would have had all kinds of seasonal shellfish at our available to us, and we would have lived here probably from spring right through fall. And you know, back in the days when you didn't have obviously, you know, supermarkets or what have you, you had to rely on these waterways. They were your life. You had to make sure that you were managing them properly, that they were clean, and that the fish and shellfish that were coming out of there were healthy to eat. Unfortunately, that is not so much the case now. We're running into a lot of issues with these waterways for several reasons. Obviously, global warming has led to algae blooms, which leads to less clarity in the water, which kills off eelgrass, which has now affected scallops, which you can't find anymore. There are some fish species which we're just not seeing like we used to. Eel is one of them. This area right here usually has seasonal closures every year. We can't really grow oysters in that area. It's more of a nursery location where we move them off the main grant into this area. The bottom is extremely mucky and not conducive to growing fish. So there are a lot of issues on all of these waterways. Unfortunately, this is a common theme that we're seeing right now in a lot of these areas, seasonal closures. It affects, obviously, our livelihood. We do have a revenue-based operation in these locations. It's affecting some of our commercial shellfish guys who rely on shellfishing as their sole source of income. And it's a traditional mechanism that we've had, again, for thousands and thousands of years that we're not able to do or not able to be as successful as we once were. If an area is closed, some of our guys can't work. And you know, these folks have families. So our waterways are in trouble. They really are, and it's unfortunate because I say this a lot, when you start to lose some of these cultural resources, and these are natural resources as well, as natives you start to lose your cultural identity, and it's a very difficult thing to understand. But it's an innate feeling, it's an innate right, and when you can't exercise that, it is extremely hurtful. And this is actually, I wanted to put this up too, this is something we all know we're seeing quite frequently now. This was actually this year, this is recent, this was Mashpee Pond. I never in a million years thought I would ever see a cyanobacteria bloom in Mashpee Pond, Mashpee Way. It's a huge water body. Now we are. This just happened, I think, about a week and a half ago. This is happening all the time, as everyone knows, and it just blows my mind. Just this past weekend, I was down at my sister's house in Mashpee. We were having a little potluck, and it was hot, and my young nephew wanted to go swimming, and he's 10 years old, and he goes swimming in Mashpee, usually go to the pond. And my sister leaned in and told him that he couldn't go swimming. Why? It's dirty, it's not healthy. I can't believe we're saying that about this particular pond, and it's really sad. And these are just kind of two images that were taken, I believe, from that same pond. It's not just Mashpee Pond, it's Santuit Pond, it's ponds all over Cape Cod. We're all well aware of the issues that we're having. So, you know, we've got folks who are actively trying to make changes and help and be good stewards like we always have been. But as I mentioned earlier, it is a little difficult. You know, we're just not staffed right, and things aren't always easy. So I just wanted to show up a couple of examples of some of the stuff that we are doing. We are part of a Wampanoag Bay collaborative, a water sampling collaborative. Every summer, those results go to CMAST at UMass Dartmouth. That's Dale Oakley getting water samples out of Wampanoag Bay. We've got a U.S. Fish and Wildlife tribal wildlife grant that's going on in Santuit River on the right-hand side. We're trying to figure out what exactly happens to the sea-run trout, which just do not come through that river anymore, and that was once a really good river for that fish. We're assuming it's obviously water conditions and water temperatures, but that is the work that's being done there, and we partnered with USGS to put those water temp sensors in there. So we're trying, and we've got work that's going on, but again, it is very, very, very difficult for us. Again, I'm going to keep harping on it. We don't have the capacity. We're not technically trained. We're not scientifically trained, a lot of us. So that's where the partnerships come in, and that's why they're so important to us, to the tribe. I just want to show real quickly, and this ties into some of the issues that we're having. I showed you our historical territory map earlier. This is a map which now shows the lands that we control. Everything in red is what you see. There's a parcel in Taunton, and then we've got some parcels down on Cape Cod located in Mashpee. We control 0.1% of our ancestral homelands. If you don't own land, if you don't control land, you can't, it's hard to affect change. And when it comes to funding or eligibility or opportunity, we're restricted. I'll give an example. Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, is our largest funder. We've got Clean Water Act 106 funds that are available to us. But we are extremely restricted on how we can use those funds, because if we want to work on our waterways, we have to own the land that abuts the waterway, or the waterway has to go through trust land. When you've got such a minimal amount of land, that's not possible. So we've got this funding, and technically right now, we can't use it. So that's one of the issues that we do have as essentially a landless tribe. And again, why partnerships are so important to us. And there's a million people in here that we do work with, and I'm probably going to forget a few of you, and I really do apologize. But we do have a lot of work going on with folks that are in this building and in this room. So I'm going to go over a few of those really quickly right now. One of the first I'll give a shout out to is Webner. That first image on the left is some of our native environmental ambassadors who were at your location, I think, within the last year. We have an excellent relationship with Webner, with our education department and our natural resources department. We have a lot of events together. The middle image is we are being taken out to Washburn Island. These are our summer campers. A sea level rise exercise, if you will, or training up on the right-hand corner, again on Washburn Island. And then we had a walk through the Childs River Habitat Restoration Project location 2 years ago. So we've really got a wonderful relationship with these folks, especially when it comes to our youth, as you can see. And it's extremely important because We want to get these kids involved in science. We want to get them interested in science. It's not only their culture, but these really are the folks who will be doing the work that we're all doing in this room. Hopefully, that's what we hope. So thank you to Webner, as always. And actually, we've got something going on, I think, next week with Kitty. Another collaboration that we have, we've been working with STEEP, Silent Spring, and the University of Rhode Island for the last couple of years to be trained and educated on PFAS, which honestly, up until 2 years ago, I had no idea what PFAS was. Our community did not know what PFAS was. Through the work of these folks who have come into our community, spent a lot of time in Mashpee, in our government center building, talking to our elders, talking to our tribal members, talking to our employees, putting out surveys, asking them what their concerns are, educating them on the risks of PFAS. We've become a much more knowledgeable community when it comes to this. We understand now what some of our risks are, and we can make change if we so decide. You know, some people are just gonna do what they want to do and eat shellfish, and I don't blame them. And but at least now we're being a little bit more educated, and it's been very, very helpful. And this work will continue on for as far as I can see. So that's been a wonderful opportunity for us. I'm going to go over 2 pending grant applications that we have right now. I don't know issues. I was just talking to Kathy Mason, but we haven't heard anything. We were supposed to hear stuff in like April and May, so we're getting a little nervous, but I feel pretty confident about these opportunities. They're both NOAA opportunities. This one is a NOAA Climate, they all come through the NOAA Climate Resilience Regional Challenge. This one is titled Regional Collaboratives for Proactive Retreat, Relocation, and Restoration in New England. It's a collaboration to support climate, ecosystem resiliency, or sea level rise. And we've also been talking about, in this actual application, threats to cultural resources along the coastlines as it relates to sea level rise. There is another NOAA opportunity. I'm sorry, and the first one was the main person, I'm sorry, I should have gone over that. The organization is the Nature Conservancy. This one is CZM, and there's a lot of other partners on there as well. But again, another opportunity through NOAA. This one is entitled Mass Resilient Coast, Transformative Collaboration, there's that word again, to strengthen communities and ecosystem in the face of climate change. So this grant in particular will support climate and ecosystem resiliency through community engagement, planning, design, and implementation of restoration projects across Cape Cod. So what I love about these 2 opportunities, and there's a bunch of things that I love. For one of the first times in quite some time since I've been in this role, both these organizations came to the tribe and not only wanted to partner with us, but asked us what is important to us. What do we want to see from this grant? What happens very often is, unfortunately, someone will come to you and say, hey, we've got X amount of dollars. This is how you're going to spend it. Do you want to be a partner with us? Sure, right? But then what happens is you get really involved with that project and you realize, well, we're kind of pigeonholed. This isn't exactly what our community needs. We'll find a way to make it work, but it's not exactly what we need. These 2 opportunities, they have come to our community, they have asked us, you tell us what is going to work for you. So we've been able to incorporate traditional ecological knowledge into both of these grants, which is extremely important. Traditional ecological knowledge and the fact that it's being recognized and appreciated. I can't explain how important that is to our community and how good it makes us feel. Traditional ecological knowledge really is, if you think about it, it's thousands of years of environmental knowledge of a very, very specific region, which would be, in this case, Cape Cod and Mashpee. And that it's just been passed down over the years orally, right? All these stories about, you can predict weather patterns and you know when things are gonna happen, and when the forsythia, blooms, the herring are gonna run. So these are all important things that we bring, but again, we do have to have, it's gotta go along with Western science. And so they have been respectful of that. These 2 grants have also provided us with technical training, which is what we need. We need to be trained in this work if we're gonna be better at our jobs, and then we can pass that knowledge down to our youth. They're very community driven. So in both these opportunities, they have set aside money for us, the tribe, to hold events where we can invite our community members into, let's say, a building like this, or into our government center in Mashpee, pay them for their time, pay them for their traditional ecological knowledge, which is very important, and make these projects more community-based, and that is so important. And it doesn't happen all the time, but it is happening in these two cases, and I'm so happy for that. And the technical training, again, that we're going to be receiving through this, and the education is phenomenal. It really is. And one of these grants as well is also going to fund, if it does come through, a full-time position for us. So we would, if funded, be able to hire a full-time field technician to do field work for a 5-year term, which is wonderful. So I just can't, I could go on and on, actually, about how wonderful these opportunities are, and I've got my fingers crossed that they will go through, and if they don't, I know that we will be continuing to work with these organizations going further down the road. This is a great project that we've been working on. This is something that's actually in place and has now gotten to the implementation phase. So a few years back, the town of Mashpee approached me and the tribe. They were involved with the Municipal Vulnerability Plan grant, which they were part of, essentially just to study Santuit Pond in the mess that is called Santuit Pond, and basically the nutrient levels. So we were brought in as a partner with the town, and throughout the course of this project, we have slowly but surely brought on additional partners as we go. And one of these partners would be the SNAP network. So the SNAP network got involved as well and has added a new dimension to this project for us. So their technical assistance that they're actually giving to the town and to the tribe specifically are on that slide. But I'll just mention that some of the technical assistance has included designing stormwater retrofits and green infrastructure solutions to address identified problems in the drainage area located in the vicinity of Santuit Pond, including a plan for public engagement to gain community buy-in for the project, assistance in creating a draft watershed-based plan, and contractor assistance to assess interim measures to address the phosphorus loading in Santuit Pond. So this grant and the technical assistance that SNAP has provided the tribe has not only led to us, again, gaining knowledge that we did not have before. I'm learning about non-point source pollution. I'm learning about stormwater runoff and how to mitigate that, and how to build bioswales. We've also had as I mentioned, a draft watershed-based plan put together on our behalf. And now we're actually at an implementation stage where just recently we were in front of the select board and received approval from the town of Mashpee to apply for funds to perform an alum treatment on Santuit Pond. And if anyone is familiar with Santuit Pond, it is a mess. There are 8 feet of sediment. There's 8 feet of sediment in that pond. Most of it is toxic metal, and all the phosphorus loading. The majority of the phosphorus is internal loading. So, yes, we are working on ways to capture storm runoff, but at the same time, the phosphorus levels in the pond have to be addressed now. So, again, 3 years ago, I knew the pond was in bad shape. That's all I knew. I didn't know exactly why. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to take care of it. I didn't know what the solutions were. And in 3 years, by being involved with this project, partners with the town, and then the technical assistance from SNAP, and then all the other people that they have brought in, Fuss and O'Neill and many other folks, we're now starting to gain knowledge on how to take care of these issues in our own backyard. And that's very, very meaningful. It's very powerful. And again, these are just some of the folks that are involved with this particular project, and I'd like to obviously give them all a shout out. And then some of the things that have come from this particular project, we've been able to put out this PSA on water quality, which explains why Santuit Pond is really in the rough shape that it is, and it's been an informative piece and really informed a lot of folks in our community, because Santuit Pond is a culturally significant pond for us, and this actually would explain why. This is actually a sign that is at the location of Santuit Pond where the herring run comes in, and it speaks to the cultural significance of Santuit Pond. That's our meeting house, which is the oldest Indian church in the country. That meeting house resides at our cemetery in Mashpee right now. It used to be on the shores of Santuit Pond. Santuit actually means place of the sachems. So those are our spiritual leaders. They would very often meet on the shores of Santuit Pond, way back in the day, way before our time. That's our chief, Earl Mills. There is a creation story tied to this pond, the big trout story. And then a couple of those images is one of our tribal members, Emma Jo Mills, as a young girl fishing. I don't know if you can see it. It's kind of light. You'll never see a shoreline like that on this pond. That is a rocky, clear shoreline right now. There is no such thing on that pond anymore. It's actually amazing to see it. That pond is nothing but muck. So to see that's probably, I don't know, Emma Jo's going to be in her 60s. That's probably 50 years ago. And what it looks like now, it's a mess. But what has been nice, obviously, is that this is a culturally significant pond for these reasons. We've been able to not only make change and affect change, we've been able to learn on how to do that, and we've also been able to, at the same time, educate the community on why this pond is so culturally significant to us, which is always a nice bonus for us. Excuse me. So, what I wanted to say next on this slide here is, so water is a sacred link to the Creator, to our ancestors, and to present and future generations. It is also a critical element of indigenous creation stories. So, as I mentioned earlier, we've got folks in this community, either in our department or actually in the community, who are trying to affect change, who are trying to keep alive our waterways, because they are so culturally significant to us. And I know I keep saying that, but it's hard for me to express when you're so tied to the land, when you're so tied to your waterways. They're your relations. Just like your own relations at home, you want to take care of them, you want to nurture them. You would do anything to make sure that they were healthy. And that's how we felt about our land and our water. So some of the examples of some of the things that are going on in the community right now, top left corner, that's actually Deb Howland, the Interior Secretary. She came to Mashpee. She is speaking with our Sagamore, who is basically like our co-chief and our vice chairman there. They are down on Papaneset Bay by Gooseberry Island, and they're talking about the issues that we're having in that bay. Top right corner is our chief, Chiefy Mills. He's at Santuit Pond, right in the location of where that educational sign was. He's actually talking to some of our tribal youth about the history of the pond, some of the issues that are going on in the pond, and probably telling them all kinds of anecdotal stories about, bygone years. Those are our native environmental ambassadors on the left-hand side. These kids are amazing. They have a rights of herring ordinance right now that has been approved through Tribal Council. They've been to Climate Week in New York City. They've been to California. They've been to Alaska, and then recently they got back from North Carolina. These are our future. These are the kids that we hope will be the next scientists, and we're so extremely proud of them. And then on the right-hand corner, we've got Dale Oakley and Dave Wheaton, who I did see in here, and they're at a harbor management meeting, and that basically is just an overall plan that we're working in conjunction with the town of Mashpee and folks from UMass Boston, which is basically addressing many conservation issues in Mashpee, and one of them, very importantly, our access or lack thereof to water, which is an extremely important issue to us in another hour conversation. So again, I just want to emphasize that, there are a lot of things going on in our community. There are a lot of people who are knowledgeable and do understand the issues that we're having, right? But again, that TEK, if you will, has to go hand in hand. We know it. We understand how important the partnerships are. We understand how important everything that we have going on in this room with all these folks, how important it is to us. And I actually forgot to mention Hui Seagrant too, I apologize. Hui and Witzall Seagrant, who I know are here. So this last slide, this is why we do what we do, right? I keep mentioning our youth and how important it is. And I'm sure it's why we all do this, right? I mean, we love our, I'm sorry, that's my alarm. So I am slightly over. Good timing now. So this is probably why we all do this, right? We all love our natural resources, right? We all want to swim. We all want to boat. We all want to fish. We want healthy waters. these are also cultural resources as well. And it's so important for us to be able to make sure that our children and our grandchildren can enjoy these waterways. It just means the world to me, and I'm sure it means the world to you folks. These are all last summer during our summer science camp. We've got kids fishing, swimming in the ocean. We've got top right corner, kids in Mashpee Pond. They could not be doing that this week. That could not be happening this week because of a closure. We've got a couple more of our child members fishing at Papanesset Spit, and then we've got a couple more who caught some beautiful sea bass out there. And, you know, I don't want these things to change. I don't want, I just want our kids to be able to enjoy these resources. Because again, they're cultural resources as well. And if they don't have this, because I've seen changes in my 54 years, I've seen a lot of changes. It kind of frightens me to think about what they might see, what they might not see. Will they have access to any of these locations when they're my age? And I'm telling you right now, folks, if they don't, for Native communities, they've lost their culture. They really have. And that's important to me. It's extremely important because, you know, what are we, Dave, if we don't have our land, if we don't have our water? So I just want to thank Webner again for this time. I want to thank everyone in this room for the work that they do. I want to thank everyone in this room who has partnered with us. I really honestly do appreciate it. We do need your partnerships, and I'm very, very grateful for that. So thank you, and good luck.